It's been almost a decade since the British Labour Party occupied number 10 Downing Street. Their record 13 years in power under centrists Tony Blair and Gordon Brown coming to an abrupt end at the height of the financial crisis. But having lost 3 successive elections, Jeremy Corbyn is determined that the path back to number 10 is by pushing his party as far to the left as possible.
A manifesto that's full of popular policies that the political establishment has blocked for a generation.
Unlike the Liberal Democrats who decided to make their whole campaign about Brexit, Jeremy Corbyn's been trying to talk about anything but. You won't find the party's policy until page 87 of their manifesto, and it's not exactly the clearest. Renegotiate, then a second referendum on their deal versus Remain, but Jeremy Corbyn won't actually tell you which side he'll be on. What he wants to tell you about is his programme of investment, renationalisation and real change for Britain. But is trying to ignore the biggest constitutional crisis since the Second World War a wise or a worrying strategy? These audience members who got to question Mr Corbyn at the debate earlier in the week were divided.
I think at least he's talking about the future rather than talking about the past. Brexit has to get done. We've been talking about it for 3 years.
Because everything has been centred on Brexit, the rest of the country and the problems within our country has been forgotten about. And that's no good because things are literally just falling apart.
Jeremy Corbyn needs to be careful that his policies don't appear to be too extreme. And I think that is what's making people uncomfortable to a degree, that we're swinging from one extreme of the right to the other of the left.
The real test, though, is how this strategy is going down on the doorsteps. So I've travelled to Aberystwyth in South Wales. This constituency has been Labour for almost a century, but in recent years its steel industry has been hit hard. And whilst the EU has pumped lots of funding into Wales, the country voted to leave in 2016. Preparing to go out on another leaflet round, MP Stephen Kinnock admits it's tough not to get stuck explaining his party's Brexit position with voters.
The clue is in the word general. It is an election about who's going to be in government for the next 5 years, and that means the health service, jobs, schools, public services, number of police on our streets, the rise in homelessness, the rise in the number of food banks. These are big political issues that also need to be voted on in this general election.
More than most backbench MPs, Mr Kinnock knows that it's a narrow path for the left to win with a grand, ambitious vision. His father, Neil Kinnock, led the Labour Party, and despite shifting it away from a similar hard-left faction a generation ago, he suffered 2 election defeats. But Stephen's wife, Helle Thorning-Schmidt, was successfully elected Prime Minister of Denmark on a centre-left platform. In exactly 3 weeks, we'll find out whether voters believe enough in Jeremy Corbyn's grand vision to put aside any doubts over his handling of Brexit. Vincent McAviney, Euronews, Wales.